Hello everyone. In today's session, we will explore procure-to-pay process, which is now known as procure-to-purchase process as well because of separation from SCM from finance module. That's why now it is called procure-to-purchase process, and it does not include the payment journal and until purchase invoice that will end. But we will still cover procure-to-pay process in today's video, and we will see the contents about this training session. There is a overview of procure to pay process, and then we will explore also about purchase process, and then we will cover to from creation of purchase requisition, which is first stage in this whole process, and then what are various statuses for purchase requisition and the list pages involved in purchase requisition, and also what is request change when related to purchase requisition. And then we will cover also from purchase requisition to generation of PO once it is approved, and also optionally we will cover issue an RFQ and what are various statuses, and then we'll turn into the demonstration, practical demonstration using D365 user interface. So if we can see here that this is the whole flow of this process, and the last option of payment generation is now not included if we talk about procure to purchase, but previously procure to pay means what was the first step in the whole cycle was purchase requisition, and by purchase requisition means a document which basically tells the ERP system that this one the item or material or services which are needed in the company or legal entity, so that can be raised by anyone who has authorized who is authorized to raise the purchase requisition, or who has the correct role. And normally in companies, for each department there is a key person who will be raising purchase requisition, and in each of the department to this key person the all needs or service for the services or items will be forwarded, and then the key person from that department will raise the purchase requisition. This is a typical flow, but it depends upon company to company or legal entity to legal entity. So once the purchase requisition is raised, then the line manager or the head of that department will approve the purchase requisition, and then it will be forwarded as per it depends upon workflow how you configure it, but normal process should be like this. Then the department head can forward that purchase requisition after approval to the procurement department. Now in the procurement department, the purchase requisition once received, so then it can be converted into RFQ, which is a journal process, and to bring transparency, it is very necessary that request for quotation should be raised, and at least three suppliers or vendors should be contacted against the need in that legal entity. So then of course the second node here, request for quotation. Request for quotation is an optional step, but purchase order can directly be generated once the purchase requisition is approved. So that can also be generated to and converted to purchase order itself. And but ideally it should be through request for quotation when you do not have any trade agreement with the vendor on a certain price, or when you get discounts when you commit to a vendor that we will be purchasing from you, then they will give you special discounts or special pricing. So if that is not the case, so normal process in transparency should be like request for quotation would be generated. Based upon that, the it should be sent then later on for to the vendor, and in D365 through vendor collaboration module or portal, and then vendor can bid against that RFQ which is raised in the legal entity. So once RFQ is generated, so it is then sent to the vendor, and then the replies from vendor are received, which are entered into the system on the behalf of vendor, or sometime directly if you are using vendor collaboration. And then for example, if there are three replies received from the vendor, then there is a comparison form where you can check the pricing and various factors based up, and also it can be a quality of the items, and based upon that it can be decided whether to go ahead with one vendor against all the needs, or there can be a pick and choose among multiple vendors, and some items which are cheaper in a vendor can be selected for acceptance, and some of the item which are cheaper in the other vendor can be selected. And then once those are accepted, then the purchase requisition, which is here now again, once RFQ is generated and the replies from vendors are received and those are entered, so then we can go back to purchase requisition. And if it is with procurement department, definitely they will approve it, and then it can be released to a purchase order from the procurement and sourcing module itself. And in the approved purchase requisition, the purchase order is then released, and purchase order released so will be in approved status, which can have the prepayment also, and that can be entered in purchase order form. And once it is entered, then the purchase order can be confirmed. So once purchase order is confirmed, then normally there is a receipt list in order to check when the delivery is received, what items are going to be received, and those are noted. And then product receipt is posted once the delivery is done, and the product receipt note is received, or delivery note is received, that is also entered into the system. So it can be partial deliveries and it can be complete delivery, or there can be a defected item which are returned, so those will not be received, and those will be recorded as those will not be at all recorded, and those will be returned, and only the good quality will be received. But there is an option of quality order that can also be uh, generated, but we will not cover in this demo. We will only cover the positive aspect, positive flow. So then product receipt is posted, so PO will have the change, have the status to received, and then from product received the invoice can be generated. And once vendor invoice is generated, at that time the liability is being liability is increased and payable is increased. So once invoice is generated, then through the payable module, the payment journal can be generated against the raised invoice or posted invoice. Once that payment is generated, so liability is reduced, and that payment also can be partial or full payment, and then the bank will be credited, and vendor will be debited. So vendor, once the payable or vendor will be debited, so the liability will be decreased by that amount, or fully it will be decreased. So this is the whole flow. And now coming to the next slide, now here we are telling about the purchase process. And in the purchase process, when employee requires a specific product to perform their job, so this can be a laptop, office supplies, or any other item or inventory or stock needs or services needs, as per the company scenario. So first step will be purchase requisition, which is created by the requester, and then the RFQ is generated, and it is sent to the vendor or multiple vendors. And once the vendor are selected, the RFQ can be converted to a purchase order, or purchase order can be created from RFQ directly. But in this case, we will cover the purchase order creation from PR itself. So then once from PR the purchase order is generated, then the products can be received into the inventory. If it is a non-consumable item, that is a stockable item through its item model group. And once those products are received into inventory, then invoice can be generated on the basis of purchase order. So this is the whole flow, and payment journal is not covered here, and but basically after invoice the payment will be generated. Coming to the purchase requisition here, uh, there can be a scenario when for example any assistant in a department can buy office supplies for his or her department, and then as I told you that it can go to head of department and then it can go to the procurement department. So whatever scenario is there as per legal entities requirement or the company requirement, that can be implemented through workflow. And requester is nobody but who asks and will receive the item, can have more than one requester, and preparer is who basically creates and submits the PR. So in this case requester can be any of the employee in a department, but a key user for that department can be preparer, and he will record also who is requester. And then approver can be a line manager of his or her department. So it can also be multiple approval if there is a value is increased. So it depends upon company to company. Then what are the purchase requisition statuses? Basically draft, and then once it is in editable status, and lines are being edited, products are being edited, so it is in draft state. Once it's submitted in workflow, then it is in review state, and it need to be in review state until the RFQ cycle is completed. Once RFQ is completed, then it can be approved, or it can also be rejected or cancelled or closed. Close it once a purchase order is generated, so that it will be closed status. Then there are multiple list pages in D365. Basically, there is one list page, but based upon the parameter on which it is called, it depends upon the scenario. So there is one which is called all purchase requisition. It will show all of the purchase requisition, and then there are certain list pages or parameter paths in which you can see your own purchase requisition, or the purchase requisition which is raised by a team like purchase requisition review, purchase requisition for my direct reports, or purchase requisition for all of my direct report. And then there is a approved purchase requisition processing, from where a purchase order can be generated or converted. Then there can be purchase requisition can be asked for changes. For example, business justification might require more details, otherwise it will be rejected by the next approval authority. So, or the delivery date, or anything which is required to be changed in workflow can be changed. As I mentioned that purchase requisition once approved can be converted to a purchase order, but it depends upon if there is RFQ process. Ideally it should be followed, and once it is followed and it is completed, so once RFQ process is completed, then also PR can be approved, and then it can be released to a purchase order. And directly also, once PR is approved without RFQ, that is also possible to convert into purchase order. So issuance of an RFQ does means that request for quotation can directly be created, or those can also be created from purchase requisition. So in demo we will cover the creation of RFQ on the basis of purchase requisition, and that list page, the path is given, and we'll see in the demo. RFQ statuses are various, and there are lowest and highest statuses. So the highest status can be like accepted, cancelled, or rejected, and lowest status is created. And once RFQ is in created state, then send status can be achieved by sending to multiple vendors or one vendor or supplier. And once the replies from any of the vendor or suppliers are received, so it will be converted to received state. And once you choose from comparison form on the basis of price and quality among multiple replies, that can be in accepted state. and the remaining you can reject, and those will not, we cannot reuse later on. So RFQ vendor can have a none, single or multiple vendors. When there are multiple vendors or where you have sent RFQ, so that will have the multiple value. And RFQ reply can be with these statuses. In this one, we will be using submitted by purchaser and purchaser updates. So if directly vendor is updating RFQ through vendor collaboration portal, so it will mention vendor updates or submitted by vendor. And not started is the lowest state, when you have generated RFQ and sent it to the vendor, but replies have not been received. So the lowest state is not started. So now we will turn into the demonstration, and let's see from the A to Z how the process works. So we will start procure to pay cycle, and for that we need to first of all navigate to our procurement and sourcing module. On the left hand side, you can see various nodes: home, favorite, recent, workspace, and modules. There in the modules, you can see uh, procurement and sourcing module. So just open that module, and that is already here on the right hand side. So just minimize the nodes, and we'll go to all purchase requisition. Even we can use this one, although the form or list page is the same in both cases. Only all purchase requisition will show you everybody's purchase requisition if you are administrator, or if you are having rights to see all the purchase requisition as per your role and task security rights. And otherwise in this you will see only PR or purchase requisitions created by you. So I will go to all purchase requisition, and please keep in mind that I'm using a demo system here. This is called Contoso Entertainment System Example Company, provided by Microsoft. So this VM already has a demo data or sample data. So I'm in this company. So to start with, I will just click all purchase requisition. So the procurement and procurement to pay cycle starts from purchase requisition, which is basically demand or need of certain services or item which a company might need. So that is the first step from where you can start. So you can just inside purchase requisition form or list page, you can just click the new command, and then you can for example give a subject or name to the this requisition. For example, it can be a furniture items or it can be consumables. So I will just type here consumables or miscellaneous items. So requested date can be filled in, and accounting date can also be filled in here. So accounting date is for finance purposes, and requested date is when I'm raising this request. At the same time, you can see here that if there is already a project and the project accounting module is being used, and you want this purchase requisition against a project ID, so then you can select a buying legal entity. And if for example I choose this buying legal entity, and then I can choose a project ID, which of course an existing project, and that can also be selected that this requisition is against a purchase project ID. So for now I am not selecting this one, and we just need a positive path and simple path so that a whole cycle could be understood. So just press OK, go ahead with this one, and purchase acquisition number, which is already 101, is assigned here. So a blank a document will be opened, and the initial information is already pre-filled. And then you can see there are areas like above area is called purchase acquisition header, and here you can see header and lines view. I'm in lines view right now, and in lines view I can see purchase acquisition header also, and there is an area at the bottom which is called purchase requisition lines. So of course every with every of the document in D365, normally this is the format or the pattern where header contains the common values or common data, and then there will be specific data in the lines. For example, we can have multiple products in the lines, multiple services, but their request date is same and accounting date can be same, and reason code we can also select for what purpose we are requesting this. So this can also we can change if we want, and we can go ahead with the view details, and then the reasons form will be open, and there you can fill in multiple reasons. So for now I'm just selecting the previous reason. I'm not just entering any new reason, so just select here for example general supplies, and then I can also put some of the details that the items needed for consumption or other purposes. So I can put a general brief purpose or business justification here for what purpose I need these items. So now you can see at the bottom you can either add line, and the line will be immediately added here, or you can add products from product catalog. So that is also possible here. So I will just add a product, and then you can see a product catalog view here, and it is in categorized form. For example, procurement categories are shown, and all the products which are attached in those categories. At the very high level you can see all the products, but once you narrow down your category, so only the products which are associated with that procurement category node will be only shown to you. For example, if I click on computer, so here keyboard and live cam and another type of keyboard, arc keyboard and arc mouse are shown. So I just need to select the product in once I select the category and the products are displayed on the right hand side and in the middle. I just need to select it, and it will give me option add to lines. So on the right hand side you can see there is a line information here where this will be added to the lines. And similarly, for example, I have selected a keyboard, and then if I also select a mouse, so the mouse will also be added on the right hand side of lines. So this is another kind of form where you can have a flexibility and categorization of the products as per their procurement category. And once you are satisfied with the items which are being procured, then you can just click OK, and the same items will be defaulted to your purchase requisition lines. So for now I'm just sufficing with these two items, and let me also show you by adjusting view a little bit. So here you can see on the right hand side I can also select, for example, this mouse in for example I need 5 in quantity, whereas a keyboard, for example, I need 3 in quantity, and the unit is each or pieces. So that's it, and then I will just I can just select all the lines and click OK. And when I click OK, then the same lines will be defaulted, and you can just drag the scroll bar on vertical scroll bar, and you can see there is a quantity of 5 for mice, and keyboard in 3, and the unit price is taken from trade agreement, and default values might be also in the products. So there are two places from where the prices can be selected as a default. So the status is still default, and that's it. And I think you can also check here the details of the items whenever you click a single line, so the corresponding details will be shown in bottom area, where you can see all the detail, for example, complete item description. And we will also go ahead with in some of the training video about product creation, where we'll see about this item description, how to add that. And these vendor default, for example, from where it is coming, it is also from product form. The basic data or default data is already set up, so these data are coming from product form in the product information module. And so these are two items, and I just need to go ahead with submission of my request. So I will go at the top fast tab, and in the workflow I can select the button submit. Once I select this button, so dialog box will open about certain comments as a originator. If I want to for example again put my comments here, so items are needed as safe stock. So we want to have a inventory stock with us always, so that end user, whenever they need these items, we can provide to them in our IT department. So I can put a comment and please approve. So I can submit it, and once I submit, please note it down that if the batch job should be running, and batch service should be running, and our the workflow batch jobs should also be running in order for this workflow to be processed. So at this time, if you click on the workflow, so it is showing me recall or workflow history options. So since this workflow I have already assigned to myself, and so this workflow will definitely come back to me for approval. So let me refresh it. Let me also show you how this workflow is configured. So for this I can go, there are multiple workflows here. So I can go to the procurement and sourcing module, and there on the setup you can see procurement and sourcing workflow. So this is always true for all the modules, that in the setup area first they will Microsoft has put parameters and then workflow form. So I will just open the workflow form to show you how this workflow is configured. This will be a good idea for new consultants who want to work here. So see here, there are two kind of workflows: purchase requisition line review and purchase requisition review. So both of these are enabled. If you can see the tick items, and purchase order workflow is also enabled here, and the rest of the workflows are not enabled, so we are not worried about that. And if I can show you, for example, purchase requisition, so it will load the workflow designer form, and it will ask me to authenticate. So purchase requisition review will inside execute purchase requisition line for each of the line included in purchase requisition itself. So both workflow will be served. So one instance is right now on the header level, that is purchase requisition workflow level, and you can see here there is a workflow flow here shown. Procurement, we can open the node, and it is saying purchase requisition line net amount, if it is equal to 0 or the vendor account is blank, then if it is true, then it will go to purchase acquisition line workflow. If it is false, means vendor is assigned and net amount is filled in, then purchase acquisition will be directly completed. No need of purchase requisition line workflow. So that is the purpose here. So we will open this node as well, and this is just a notification. And if you can see in the assignment node, I have assigned to my user here. So but there are various kind of workflow elements available here, which we can choose. For now, for the sake of simplicity, I have assigned to myself, but there can be multiple end users. For example, a key user for each of the department who wants to originate the PR purchase acquisition, and then his line manager through hierarchy approval will approve the workflow. And once it is approved from line manager, then you can assign the another node you can include, where you can assign that one to a procurement manager, and then from the procurement manager it can go even further if the amount is higher, and if it is not higher, then it depends, but procurement manager will go through the RFQ process, and then once RFQ process is completed, then PO can be generated. So let's go back to our purchase requisition. So it is showing me in review right now, so just select it, and from this list page also you can check now that the action buttons are shown here as now, because now this workflow has been again assigned to me, and I can request, change, delegate, or recall. Recall means I can bring this back to me, and then if I want to change it, or if I want to leave it without approval and I don't want to proceed on this PR. And workflow history will definitely show the whole history. So I can approve it and I can reject it, but at this moment I want to show you that because now we want to go through RFQ process as well. So at this stage, these two items which I need in different quantity, I need RFQ, request for quotation, to be created from this PR. So request for quotation is a document when I want to request to my vendors. At least normally in organizations, at least 3 vendors are being contacted based upon their repo in the market, and based upon their pricing and quality of items or quality of services. And this is a normal process of tendering also in government. When you process your procurement through request for quotation or RFQ, and from this being selected and the document being in review state, I can go to the action and create a request for quotation, and this document will ask me which will be the buying legal entity, and that will of course be USMF, in which I raise the PR, and then I can select both of the lines. So it is up to me which line I need to want to go through RFQ, and which line I need to directly buy from a vendor. It is also possible, but for now sake of whole process, I just need to select both of the items here, and buying legal entity I have selected. I will just press OK, and it will create an RFQ document, and it will provide me with the number, and that number is shown here, which is 11, and I can then again open a purchase requisition directly here, because now this RFQ which is now created is linked with this purchase requisition on line level, because the selection which was given in just now in dialog box was item wise. So it means the RFQ needs to be associated with item instead of at a header level. So you can see here there is a multiple information shown. Also, if you want to go to the details, in the details you can see the same number which was shown in notification is assigned now to this line, and similarly if you select the other one, then you will also find the same information at the bottom. So just select the other line, and now the details will again show request for quotation case number, this one, and you can click from here, and now ER being in review state, RFQ has been generated, RFQ case has been generated, and it has assigned a number sequence or an ID value to the document. And now we are in RFQ screen. When I clicked it from the linked RFQ, so now in this screen we are, and site, warehouse, and the product information and everything is filled in here as a request for quotation lines. And similarly header is also there, and now the status is created since this is very initial stage, and you know, the unit price and the net amount is already filled in based upon, you know, the pricing in your product form. So now you can see here the status, and everything is again the same, only it has defaulted the values. So next process, and if I would also can show you the header information, you can just switch to header view, and here you can see the common information, who is requester and requesting department you can also fill in, but for now I am not filling anything. So these information, you know, it is already there, and this is a header view, so it means this is a header which is being shown here. So now in the header, the important thing is you can include multiple vendors here. For example, if I can go to the add, and I can select another vendor. For example, I will select this ACME office supplies, and then I will add another vendor. So there are now 3 vendors selected in our form, and once these vendors are selected, then you can see at the top ribbon the or process send command. So it means now RFQ is generated at our company's end, and we want to send this RFQ to our vendor. So there is also a vendor you know, portal is available where a vendor can directly interact, but here we are just showing another you know, vendor collaboration portal is available. So for now I will just select the send button, and so all the vendors are now there, and if I can select all, each one of that one, and it is showing me all the items. So okay, so now I will press OK, and there is a option of batch also. If I want to run this process through batch, so that option is also available. For now I will just press OK, and there is also option of print is available, and then later on you can also print, but for now I will just select OK. Change it to sent status, means we have sent our RFQ request to the vendors, and the message is also shown in notification where it is saying that RFQ 11 has been sent to vendor. So now based upon, you know, you know, that there is a setting. Let me first show you the request for quotation journals. Just go ahead and click that option, and you can print it and see how it appears when you send it in PDF via email, or you can send a hard copy to your vendor, or through vendor collaboration portal also vendor can access the. Okay, so now you can see here request for quotation format is just like this one, and it is showing whatever the items we need, and what would be the delivery date and expiration date, or certain values we can fill in there, and the vendor address and the vendor name is there, and our company is also shown there. Let me little bit. Now, if you can see it, our company name is shown, request for quotation, information number, and delivery address where they need to deliver, and vendor name and their address, and if there is a text uh, through notes also linked to our quotation form notes which are fixed, also it is shown here, and then the category, item number, and quantity in which we need these items is shown here. So this is a printout of RFQ document. Now let me close this, and before that I need to also show you one more thing: procurement and sourcing parameter. And in the parameter, if you can go to request for quotation, so in the request for quotation there is option called purchaser can edit vendor bid. So in this case, in when we send an RFQ to the vendor, so vendor can definitely bid on the basis of the items required. So but there is an option that a buyer or purchaser like our company, if they send it through some other means, through email or some through hard copy, they send us the quotation, then we can also enter the received replies from the vendors. For the purpose of this demo, this option I have enabled here in the parameter. Just open the vendor collaboration module. Before you in the previous releases you could enter the request for quotation reply in the same form, but now on if you can go to request for quotation bid, if we can go back, go at the bottom, we can see here there are three RFQ which we can bid here, not as a purchaser but on behalf of our vendor. We can go ahead and bid it. So at a time we can select one record, and once you select one record, so bid command is available. Just click the bid option. So once you click the bid option, so now the bid progress is shown that purchaser is updating this bid. So just review the information. If something is to be changed, just change that information also, and lines are available. And for example, unit price we can change here a bit, so that whatever unit price they have quoted us, we can change it here. And based upon if they have quoted only one item, we can remove the other line as well. So we can just submit it, save and submit. So now the status is shown that submitted by purchaser. Just close this one. And similarly, we need to perform the same action with other RFQs. We can also select the decline option if the vendor is not quoting his prices, or the quantity is not available with him. So for example, we can get a good price here, and so the vendor name is clearly shown at the header level. This is ACME Office Supplies. Just submit this one as well. So status is being updated whenever we are processing the document on behalf of vendor. So just bid our third one. And for third, I'm just keeping the same unit price and quantity. This one is also submitted now. After we have submitted, we can go back to our RFQ document. So now we can see here the status is now after sent it has changed to received, means the replies have been received from our vendors. Then we can compare the replies based upon various attributes. That can be a price for the item quoted from the vendor. So now you can see in one screen you can have a view that which vendor quoted which price, although the vendor account number is shown here and the quantity is shown here, unit price is also shown here, and of course every company wants to have a cheaper price but a good quality. So based upon that the quality thing is also an important factor here. But normally they go for the lowest price, and if there are discounts also, and the comments can also be put there based upon the replies, I mean. So just now you what we can do here, that we can mark. So now I can select whatever items I need. For example, I need I can select a specific lines. That means I can choose based upon the pricing from multiple vendors as well. For now I will select these items, and I will go ahead with the accept option. So in the accept dialog box, I can see here the once more it allows me to review my item, and here the net amount is also shown, the quantity is also shown. So I will just go ahead with the and I can also provide here the reason for accepting these why I am selecting the RFQ from this vendor, reply from this vendor. So that can be price or quality, both can be factors. So once I have done so, I can just OK. So it will process and accept the lines which I have selected, and then it will reject the other lines. So that is up to me, that whether I want to reject it or I can even cancel it. So just cancel that one for now. So now the highest status shown here in this form is accepted, means I have accepted one or multiple vendors, so that status is shown here. So from here I can go back to my purchase requisition, which was still in review, and in that purchase requisition which is still in review here, so I can go to the workflow. In the workflow I can approve this purchase requisition. In the approve dialog box I can enter comment that based upon prices quoted I have reviewed and accepted the RFQ. Now you can see the purchase requisition is in approved status. So after it was in review, now it is approved status, and in approved status we can go ahead and uh, release and approve purchase requisition form we can open, and where this purchase requisition which is now in approved status, we can select the multiple lines based upon if it is same vendor or different vendor. So if it is different vendor multiple purchase order, we can generate from the lines which are approved in purchase requisition. So once it is released from this form, so the purchase order number is also shown here. So we can note down the purchase order number. Even though this purchase order number will be already linked with the purchase requisition, I can show you. Open the purchase requisition, because now here also there can be possibility of each line having a different purchase order number. So since the RFQ is also different, so similarly the purchase order can also be different here. So in case it is same, so the same will be assigned to the line. Here you can see RFQ is also linked, and purchase order which was generated is also linked to this purchase requisition line. I can just click from here and directly go to the purchase order, or if you want to go from module, that is also possible. And now the purchase order is already opened here, and you can see it is in approved status, and now on we can process from purchase order, which is a commitment to the vendor that we will purchase these items from you, and we can get a printout after we confirm this purchase order. And that step is also we can include any prepayment if it is required for the vendor, if there are terms, so we can define prepayment here. So after that we can just confirm it, and before confirming we can also check it before posting pro forma confirmation. And there are two options here, confirmation and confirm in action. So confirmation in generate group, this one will show you the printout as well, and if you want to directly confirm without dialog to open and to choose from the multiple options, you can just go ahead and confirm the purchase order. And then also the printout is also available in journals. On the right hand side you can see the journal group. Now the purchase order confirmation is available. Just if you want to have a look at this, the status is also changed into the confirmed status. So we can have an original preview. I have explained in the technical videos also that how to customize the look and feel, I mean, of your document print, and you can have multiple designs based upon multiple companies, because you can have legal entity, multiple legal entities in the system, and then you can have a different format. So here also the quotation reference number and everything is there in the purchase order printout. So after this purchase order is submitted to confirm our purchase from a vendor, then of course the vendor will deliver us the item, and it can be on a credit basis. Terms of payment can be 30 days or 60 days based upon whatever agreement you have with your vendor and whatever he has quoted in the replies for your quotes, RFQs. So we can just close this, and the first step will be to have a receipt list, and receipt list is nothing, just what will be arriving in your warehouse. And for that you can go to the receive tab, and there you can see in the generate group you can see receipt list, and then there is a product receipt. So receipt list, if I can show you, and both options are also available in proforma, means without posting, only to have a print preview. That option is also available. So in the the same line will be shown here, and that can you can also print it, so that whatever will be arriving in your in the transport from vendor side. So if I untick the posting option, so this is a proforma receipt list, and here you can note down whatever the quantity will be received, and there, so that you can tally the same quantity with your product receipt. So you can get a printout or whatever in the soft form, whatever the method you like. So just go ahead with let me post it, receipt list. So just we can take a printout, just close it, and operation is now completed. And now we can go to the product received from this onwards. And the product is received happens when you receive the stock from your vendor or the delivery from your vendor. So that is the moment when you receive your stocks, and there can be an item arrival journal before that, but we will not go. We will only cover the positive steps now. And here you can also check the quantity, which is very important. Uh, there receive now quantity basically is whatever you will be receiving in the, and you have mentioned the same in PO level, that you will receive this much item now, this much quantity you are receiving now. And order quantity is the same one, which is a purchase order mentioned in the purchase order lines. And register is through item arrival journal, whichever you have registered, because the warehouse is a very complex place, and there is an inbound place and outbound place. So first you will receive the items in inbound place, and through item arrival journal you will register that quantity, and then later on you will sort it down, and you will change it through transfer orders. So similarly in product received quantity, that is also registered quantity in service. So right now I will select ordered quantity, which is the default selection, and whatever you choose it, the next time it will show the same option. So document date, and that can be also changed. The product received number we can mention here. So I will just put the PO number, but there is a document received from from vendor side, which you can put here. Normally vendors also provide the same document for invoice and product receipt, but that can also be case that product receive is the delivery note, or that is a separate note provided, and then they provide the invoice. That invoice can be a combined invoice against multiple purchase order from the same vendor. So document date mentioned in that document or product receipt we can enter here. terms of payment also can be selected here, but for now we will just select OK, and then it will post and change the status of purchase order from open to the received status. So the packing slip or product receive is being posted, and it is showing that now remaining quantity is 0, and all the quantity is now received. Once that is done and the stock has been received in the inventory, the quantity would have increased for that stock, and that also can be checked from inventory, and before and after you could have checked this. But since these are consumables, so definitely the consumables are not available in inventory on hand. You can go to the product information management, and there in the release products form you can check the item configuration. Just put the item code in filter and open the item. So in the item model group you can check here that it is not an stocked product, it is a consumable or an expense nature of product, and inventory model is FIFO, first in first out. So that's why the on-hand inventory is not hit into inventory once it is received. So let's go back to our purchase order. We can open purchase order also from accounts payable, but from account payable the purchase requisition, RFQs, those items, those forms will not be available, because this is only for finance part. So 176 is our purchase order number. Just open the purchase order, and now we will be invoicing the purchase order. And invoice is basically a document which is basically a financial document, and the effect of product received into control account, that is also reversed when you do the invoicing. So just go ahead to the invoicing tab, and there are also two options. Pro forma invoice is draft invoice before post a final invoice. That option is also available. Normally pro forma documents are first checked with the other party, and once it's reviewed and finalized, then you post the final document. So now in here you can see the product receipt number is defaulted, and also we need to check here the quantity that is default from product receipt quantity, means whatever the product receipt have been already posted, so the quantity in invoice should be defaulted from that document, which is correct practice here. So now we can change multiple things here, that is invoice date and posting date based upon our financial aspects. So the posting date can also be changed, and when we want to actually post this as financial posting, can input the document number provided from our vendor. That can be an invoice number, and the invoice in partial is also possible, means and summary update option is also available, but that will I will cover in another video. Here you can see that there is a unit price and line net amount and quantity are mentioned. So if you want to change the quantity, that is also possible. Based upon whatever invoice vendor is giving you, you can update this document. And for now I will just positive steps, positive sequence, and now you can here also check match status is also not performed, and you can just match the product received with these quantity in invoice, or that I also can show you whatever the product received already posted, you can check that one. And There is only one product received, and there are two lines which are shown. So if there are multiple product received, so those will also be shown in overview, and here the lines are shown at the top level. And so just press OK, and once you are satisfied, okay, these quantity they are correctly charging us, the vendor, they are correctly charging us, you can go ahead with update match status, and then match status will turn into past status if it is matching with the product received quantity. And you can also view here the totals form. Basically totals will show you any tax aspects or discount aspects or the total amount, and multiple things will be shown here. And that is very important step. Before posting your document, you should check the totals as well. So the invoice amount is correct, and cash discount amount is correct. If we are paying it early, and if we are paying it before 30 August date, so we'll get discount of 1.43 USD. And that is also the very important aspect, because normally I have seen many accountants working on ERP, they don't check this form and just post it, and then they want to post a credit note, or change the amount, and they say that it is not tallying with our vendor invoice. So it is very important to check this total form, and once you are satisfied that everything is okay, then only you should post it. Otherwise you should not post it and change whatever the things or items are required to change. Just close this form, and once you are now done with everything, you can just go ahead with the posting. And also workflow can also be configured at this level, so that it goes through also from multiple levels in your finance or accounts department, and everybody can check, review all the items and pricing and finance things are okay, and then you can post it. And also I can show you apply prepayment option is also available. If there is already paid prepay invoices available against this purchase order, then those will be also available to apply, and then of course the net amount will be knocked off with that one. So for now I'm just posting it. Once it is posted, so the purchase order status from received will be changed into invoice status, and the purchase order document will be closed. The invoice status or cancelled status in purchase order is considered as a closed state. We can just close this one, and so since we have applied a filter here which is a received status, and now it has changed into invoice status, we can apply the filter once more. And now you can check this status is now invoiced for 176. And now we can go ahead with payment of the invoice, and the vendor liability has been created. So we can go to accounts payable, and in accounts payable in vendor payment journal, you can open the vendor payment journal form, and you can create a new payment journal and select here the vendor payment journal type of the journal, and then you can go to the lines. So in the lines you can select the date, and voucher is auto generated, and company, and account need to be selected, that is a vendor account. So 1001 is our SME office supplies. So once we have selected the vendor account, now there is a possibility to go to settle transaction form, which is basically all outstanding transaction which include payment and invoices which are not knocked off or settled together. So we can just open the settle transaction. I can sort by date here. So here is our invoice. We can mark this invoice. Once we have marked it, you can see amount to settle is shown here 283.57, and actual amount was 285. And why this less amount is shown? Because of discount which is being taken now, because we are now paying before that date. So cash discount date is available as 30th August, and because we are paying before that, so transaction here you can see the cash discount amount is also shown separately, and you can just select this and click OK. And it is possible also to pay in partial, means if you are paying now $100 and then later on you can, so you can change it in amount to settle field, and it will also update here amount to settle in USD, that will also in base currency will be shown. So let me cancel this. Yeah, it is now already there, and just mark it again, and okay, and just press OK. So once you have closed the form, now the debit amount, which is vendor debit and credit to the bank, is 283.57 amount is shown here. And description, you can provide any description based upon for example preset, or you can input your own. And in the view marked transaction, you can select the transaction or multiple invoices which you have marked against this payment line. So just close this one now, and print option is also available, and print journal, print balances. So just let me show you. Balances are for this vendor, so main account only, no, and I will just go ahead with print. So the vendor account is now, we are debiting, and closing balance and opening balance is also shown here. And once we have settled this, so this will be the closing balance, means it will be reduced, we will reduce our liability. And if I can show you the journal, journal means this line or this payment journal. Before posting, you can check this one. So now you can see that the vendor will be debited and the bank will be credited as a posting of this payment journal. So which is the correct effect, because in when we posted our invoice, so at that time the vendor was credited. So now it will be debited, so the balance will reduce. So now what we can do is to generate our payment, and the method of payment will be definitely check here, but there are multiple options available. And bank account need to be this one, which is already selected, and we can just go ahead with this selection. And now the form, the check number is already there, and we can just click OK. So the check already can be set up in bank module, and now the payment status is shown as sent. And since it cannot find the printer through network, so we can ignore just for demo purpose, and the payment status is sent, and check number is also shown here. So once it's done, then what we can do is we can also validate it in order to check our debit and credit totals are equal, and that is very much when you compare or balance your voucher. So the total debits should be equals to total credits. So that is also possible, and once validate is showing the journal is okay, so then you can go ahead and post. And simulate posting is also available. Before posting, if you want to simulate the posting, that option is also available, but we'll just go ahead and post the document. This will end our the whole cycle, procure to pay cycle, which we started from purchase requisition, and based upon purchase requisition we generated our we submitted PR in workflow, and then we generated our RFQ, and and then we send our RFQ to 3 vendors, and then we receive the reply or the quotes from our vendor, and we input those replies on behalf of our vendor into the system. And once we input that in our system, then we have approved the purchase requisition and release the purchase order from approved purchase requisition. Once purchase order was generated, then we also checked we confirmed the purchase order. Before confirmation, we also checked the possibility of entering the prepayment. And once we confirm the purchase order, then what items we will receive in our warehouse. So receipt list we have checked also, that in order to check whatever the items or stock we will be receiving as part of receipt list. And on the basis of that receipt list, we generated our product receipt, and product receipt, of course, when our transport or our items were delivered, at that time the product receipt was posted, and it did not increase the inventory because these were consumable items. And once we have received the product received, so then we posted the invoice in order to increase our liability for payment for the vendor. And once we posted the invoice, then we paid through payment journal to the vendor, and we decrease our liability. And uh, from the bank, it was the credit entry. So that was the whole flow. Still it is not posted, so we can there is an option outside also which we can select in order to post it. Just go ahead with the posting, and so the operation of posting is now completed, and we can just close this form. And so now the posted date and time is also shown, and it is ticked. So if we refresh, so it will be gone. See actually our purchase order. So purchase order number was 176, and we can select here like contents, and so this is our purchase order. And from here we can go to the invoice journal, and in the invoice journal the voucher number we can note here. This voucher is important. We can put the voucher here, and we will go to our payment journal. We will select the posted payment journals. We can select a date of today, which is 28 2021, and is exactly okay. We'll apply the filter, so whatever the payment journals were posted today, it will be shown. So there are 2 payment journal posted, so this one having higher number sequence, so this one is our which we have showed, and the voucher number is shown here also. This is a payment voucher number that we can also copy here. Now if we go to the first of all, if we check our vendor transaction report, first to include here, we have selected the vendor account, and include transaction should be open and close. So settlement details, yes. Once we have selected this, so it will show us all the knocked off transactions as well. And now if I can show you, so if we can compare the invoice voucher and then payment voucher, so this is our payment voucher, which is showing an amount of 283.57. So that is clearly visible. And then we can go at the bottom. So our invoice voucher is shown here, which is showing 285 credit or liability. This is our vendor transaction, and then now we can go to the account statement. So in the account statement, for the August statement, if we call for this specific vendor, already in large, and here we can see that this voucher number 994, which is our invoice voucher, as a liability or credit amount, in amount in minus is shown as 285 invoice amount, and then the payment voucher 1211 is shown here 283.57, which we, since we availed the discount, that's why the amount was reduced, and the discount is also shown here separately, 1.43, and so that's it. And also there are certain other important or useful reports which you can check. For example, vendor balance list is also a good example, and vendor aging report is also good reports. So this is how we end up with our procure to pay cycle, and I hope you have enjoyed this. And also one more thing here, if I want to go to the vendor form, and from there there are two useful things which I want to show you. Just let me open. So this is our vendor form. So in the vendor form, if you can see in the invoice tab, there are in the settle group, there are settle transaction and undo settlement. So in the settle transaction also, it is possible that if you are not knocking up the invoices at the time of payment generation or payment journal, so later on you can also settle it through this form. That option is also available. So these are all open transaction, since we have already knocked off the previous transaction, so that will not appear here, and but the other one will definitely appear in undo settlement form. So in this undo settlement, we can see our this whatever the transaction, if we select it, so the other one which is knocking it off will also be selected. So these two transactions, like the invoice which is in minus amount or credit, and the debit amount is for payment journal, is also shown. And once I selected one transaction, one line, so it is already automatically selecting the other side as well. And then I can reverse it, and based upon the dates, like today's date or latest date will be taken from these two documents. Whatever will be latest date or selected date, I can then input date here, and on the basis of that date also I can reverse the settlement or knocking off. It does not mean that it will reverse and post the credit note to the invoice and payment journal automatically, but it is just a functionality which will unlink the two documents, that is the invoice document, vendor invoice document, and the payment journal document. These will be unlinked, and then the same payment journal can be linked to any other vendor invoice. That is also possible. And the partial scenarios are also available, like you can have partial invoices or partial payments, or one payment can be applied to multiple invoices from the same vendor. So there are so many scenarios which I will try to cover definitely in my future videos. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.